So yeah, when I turned pro, I was just coming off of age group world championships at Mont Tremblant 2014. I definitely felt really fit. I set a PB there. I was 4 hours, 8 minutes, which was, my fastest half Ironman time. And I kind of just, I'll have always been striving for that extra, like, be as competitive as you can be. Like, what's the next step? Placing top 5 in my age group at a world championship, I thought, like, okay, like, I think I'm ready to, like, make that plunge and take that extra step to try to better myself, I guess.
So you were already pretty close to nailing it when you kind of decided you wanted to go for the pro card.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a lot of work to do at that point. I met the qualification criteria, which I guess, like, there's some debate whether or not just because you meet the criteria, does that necessarily mean you're ready to turn pro?
Right.
That was a decision that I had with my coach, with Ian.
Right.
And we both thought, like, what the hell, let's go for it.
Yeah, right.
So I think it doesn't take as many hours a week as the general thought is.
Okay.
I would say, honestly, like, for most of my career, especially when I was focusing on half distance racing, I was probably averaging 12 to 14 hours a week.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Which is, very reasonable.
Yeah.
It's probably on the low end of what most triathletes are doing. Like, even a lot of amateur triathletes are doing. I know it's low end on the pro level, but I will say, like, that freaked me out for the first few years. I always felt like I could do a little bit more, But, having been 3 years into it now with Ian, I've realized that I've never suffered an injury. I've never gotten, like, adrenal fatigue. I've never been burnt out.
Right.
I've been tired and fatigued before.
Yep.
But I've never gone beyond that level where it takes,
like, chronic overtraining.
Yeah, like chronic overtraining. So that's really led to 3 years of ridiculously consistent training. I've never had to take any significant amount of time off where I would lose fitness.
Right.
And I think that honestly just comes down to having a coach that really understands the science of training, and that's willing to get to know you and develop personalized plans for you.
Right.
No, it shouldn't look any different if you were really pro and that's all you were doing, then maybe you could do a little bit more.
Right.
Because, in the ideal pro world, you're just training and recovering.
Right.
Right? You're going out for your morning run and then coming home and playing Xbox all day, sitting on the couch. Like, that's pretty nice. That's not really reality for most of us. So yeah, I would say, like, it shouldn't really matter because you're training to be the best triathlete you can be.
Right.
Whether or not you're age group or pro at this point in the game.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
And what was your first pro race like?
Terrifying.
Terrifying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My first pro race was in New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was hot and humid. We swam in Lake Pontchartrain, which is scary. But no, like, lining up with someone like Andy Potts, like, that's intimidating.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's it's so cool. Like, I'm like, wow, this is so cool. But then at the same time, I was thinking, like, you don't deserve to be here. Like, You're racing, like, you don't deserve to be racing next to this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And it took me a long time to get over that.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, totally. I have been on vacation. Went to an all-inclusive resort last year, and I made the training work, believe it or not.
You did training while you were down there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I swam open water in the ocean, like along the beach.
Yeah.
The resort had a treadmill that I used, and the bike training for the week suffered.
Right.
It just did. There was an indoor bike, and I did use it, but it was terrible. I enjoyed none of it whatsoever. Right. But at least it's something. And you always try to line those extended periods up with your recovery anyway.
Right.
So if you know that it's coming, you might, just change the schedule just a little bit so that that time can be easy anyway.
So is there any period during the year where you think you're not thinking about training, or you're just not in triathlon mode? Like, do you get a true off season?
I think the off season is about 2 weeks.
And do you do anything during that off season, or is it just unstructured stuff?
Well, I'm in an off season right now, and I'm definitely doing some structured stuff. It's easy. It's not for a long period of time. I, more so than previous years, really needed an extended break, just because I did in the last 8 weeks, I did 2 Ironmans, a half Ironman, and an Olympic distance race. And I didn't have a full year of Ironman base training. So it's just kind of killed me. It's just the nature of the beast at this point. But in previous years, like, I just want to keep going.
Right.
Like, I think triathletes at this level, at most levels, are all kind of crazy. And we love the training. So, I mean, after 2 weeks, it's like, okay, this is getting crazy. Like, let's go for a run or ride.
Right.
Yeah.